Okay, so my patience finally paid off, and I got my camera batteries back. They were found. Very happy about that. So today, I'm going to make this shirt. It's a little different than the one I was planning on making when I first introduced this project. I was originally planning on making this shirt, but I made a few modifications. For one, I'm going to use the cuffs that I have for that Daisy dress, or I should say Daisy shirt that I made in the spring, and then I'm just going to add the stereotypical Western points on the yoke in the back and on the front. I'm not going to make the sleeves super blousy because I want it to be able to go underneath sweaters, but now I just have to modify the pattern, make the... I have a dart here. I just got to make sure the pattern's all square before I start cutting out. Okay, so I have all of my pieces cut out, ready to go, and I have even applied the interfacing to the collar, cuffs, and collar stand. Now for this shirt, because this pumpkin fabric is just so similar in color to this truck fabric, I have decided to border the edges of the yoke and the cuff with a little bit of the lace that I had in my skirt. I'm basically using this as piping, but it doesn't have the cord in the middle, so technically it's not piping. But I'm going to stitch this with like a basting stitch all around the bottoms of the yokes and the cuff. That's going to be my first step. Okay, so now I'm going to add this little piece. I serged the edges, which you know. And this is 1.5 inches wide, so I have a 1/2 inch of seam allowance, and it's going to stick out 1/4 of an inch. So I've just got to pin this along the edges. And then I'll stitch it on like at 1/4 inch because I have 1/2 inch seam allowance. That way the stitches won't show onto the final piece. Okay, so I just finished sewing the collar together onto the collar stand, and it's really cute, and I like how where the button's gonna be. It looks nice. Got the nice tree leaves there, really cute. Okay, so the next step I'm gonna do is I'm going to stitch the yoke parts to the bodice parts. And I'm gonna sew the darts in the front bodice, just real quick. My camera has been shutting off randomly, and I don't know why, so let's see how much footage we can get this time. Okay, so now I've got to sew this point into this. And I'm just going to follow the same techniques that I used on my asymmetrical yoke bodice, but this is going to be easier because this point isn't half as tight. Now that we've got all this pinned, we stitch from here to here, just to the pin, which is the halfway point, and then we do the other half. And that makes these corners a lot easier. Okay, so I have the front and back bodice pieces, or shirt front pieces, stitched together. The piping looks really nice, at least in my opinion. It creates that nice barrier, so it's not just pattern on pattern. It like breaks it up a little bit, and it draws the dark blue, like dark teal, whatever color you want to call this. It pulls it from the skirt into the shirt and just complements the design and makes it a lot more cohesive and not just like cream on cream. So the next part I'm going to work on is going to be adding the cuffs to the ends of the sleeves. Now, all I have to do is sew the sides together, and then I usually leave like 3 inches open on the bottom, and then I just fold them under. And then I top stitch to create a nice little button placket, or at least opening, so that when I button it, it is on the side of my wrist. So this sleeve, you may notice, it looks a little different than normal sleeves because the top and the bottom are in this like wave. Generally, when you see sleeves, like what I used for my knit is that you have the top and then the edge and the edge. But in order to get the seam to run up the back of the arm so that that placket is on the side of the wrist rather than the bottom of it, I moved this seam to the back of the sleeve rather than having it in the middle underarm. So that's one very important thing that you need. It's also kind of used on jackets, but what jackets do is they just make an upper and a lower sleeve. So they'll cut a line here too, which I am not doing because it's just a shirt. I don't need the extra steps. So I've just got to run a gathering stitch and then insert it into the cuff. Pretty easy. Okay, so my next step is to sew the side seams together. And I'm just gonna sew them down to here. I'll have to leave it open because I'm gonna have that like split at the bottom. Okay, so I've got the hem pinned, and now I'm just gonna run it through the machine and make sure the bottom of the shirt's finished. Now I just have to sew the sleeves on. I've got them all pinned out and everything. I did that gathering stitch. I just gotta put it together now. That's the sleeves done. Now I just have to do the buttons and then this shirt is completely done. Nice. Well, buttons and buttonholes, of course. Okay, so I've got all the button patterns laid out. I'm ready to go. I just gotta stitch the buttons, and I've got 4 in the shirt front, and then, I'm sorry, I've got, I think, 11 on the shirt front itself, and then 4 on the sleeves each. So that's 19 buttons and buttonholes. So I made sure I had a full bobbin in the casing. I've got the matching bobbin thread and top thread, just in case there's like some tension issues, which I don't usually have on this machine. But that way I don't have to worry about like an orange thread, which I have been using in the bottom and the bobbin, coming up and poking at the top. So we're just gonna use blue and blue. We're gonna sail right through it. Hi guys! Thanks so much for watching this video. I really enjoyed making this shirt. I'm actually wearing it right now and it's pretty comfy. I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to watch these videos. This one's a little on the longer end, so I especially appreciate you watching this one to the end. Yep, I really enjoyed making this shirt. I like the way it turns out. One criticism I have is that when it's paired with this skirt, there's just a little too much cream or tan at the top. So I think it looks better with like denim or jeans. So yeah, but I think it turns out nice. It looks really pretty by itself. Thank you so much for watching this video again. Big shout out to all 52 of my subscribers. See you in a couple of weeks. Bye!